Evening. Thank you for joining me for the second episode of Ugly Duckling Tarot with Ro. I'm Josh, not a doctor. It's all for entertainment purposes, and you'll know what to do. It's advised that if you're going to watch tarot readings, it's important to listen to a lot of different ones. But usually, it's not a good idea to watch the same person 2 videos in a row. You should wait till the next day and only watch one a day, usually, if you're really meditating on the message from each one, as we're each other's guides. But to get all these messages when they're from different states of mind in one day, it's kind of like binge watching a show or like playing a video game and getting stuck in it because you play it so much, and that's all, like, you're thinking about it at work and this and that, but then once the game's over, then you're like, where'd my life go? But you've been living your life the whole time, right? So if you're watching this and you already watched the other one, that's some advice for the future if I do 2 videos a day until I find some way to separate out the energy. But that's just advice I have overall, general collective information, insight to give. So this reading has to do with division, which is really about connection and developing together, which can be so difficult sometimes if we all have to do it individually and apart. But then if if opposites attract, or even if similar things attract. See, that's the thing. Oh, if it's manifestation, that says, oh, similar things. If you're in this kind of mindset, then what's going to come to you is, it suggests, well, then that's what was attracted to you. Oh, well, then how can opposites attract if the algorithm makes it so likeness attracts? I wanted to pull this up real quick here because I don't know a lot about this first card. The card is Hope, but it's number 22. And the Egyptian deity is Anu-Ket, which makes me think of, I'll just nuke it. I didn't take anything out for dinner. Oh shit, I'll just take the leftovers and put them in the microwave. Now we have hope. Anu-Ket. But let's pull up some more about this deity. Also known as Anu-Kis or An-Ket with a Q, or An-Ket or Anu-Ket, associated with the Nile River, particularly I didn't know, that's interesting, that cataracts had to do more than with the eyes, particularly the cataracts near Elephantine Island. She was originally a Nubian deity. Oh, so what is she, a white goddess now? Personification of the annual flooding to deposit rich, fertile silt across the agricultural lands. You know, that's what's I suddenly find weird, how, like, the idea of the flood, that it came and destroyed the world, but so they could be reborn. But in Egypt, that happens every year, and if there isn't a flood, and you don't know how to deal with the flood every time it comes, then you're screwed either way. Like, your house will get flooded, or you know, all your stuff will get ruined, unless you knew that was going to keep happening. And the same with, well, knowing, oh shit, okay, it floods. Oh, that's good news, because that means, you know, once it quits, then we can go out and start farming to help take care of us 6 months from now, when there's no food available, when we go into winter, even though Egypt is kind of on the equator. See, that's that double balance. Typically wearing a headdress of reeds and ostrich feathers, and often holding the Ankh, or the symbol of life. And in this image, she's holding what reminds me of Aquarius, the water bearer, as she holds this vessel magically out from her fingertips, and it brings forth life, while at the same time she protects what's already been grown behind her by that lotus. She's part of a divine triad worshipped in the Elephantine region. The elephant that never forgets. The first cataract. Consider the daughter of two other deities, Khnum, Khnum. He's the ram-headed god of the Nile source, so attributed to Ares, probably. And Satis, or Satet, as her mom, inundated at the southern border, which, if we know how the Nile River works, then it's interesting that at the intake, let's see, that's weird. So then the Nile River floods, but the weird thing is it runs south to north, I believe, into the Mediterranean. But then Khnum is upside down and backwards at the Nile source. Well, is the source the Mediterranean? But that's where the outlet is. Or is it way south? And what confuses this is that Satet, or Satis, is about the Nile's inundation in the southern border. Well, the southern border, that would be where the river flows into Egypt from somewhere else. But then Egypt, most of the cities are built right along the mouth where everything goes out into the Mediterranean. So all the abundance is there. But from the place where the river ebbs and flows like tides, but over long periods of time, of months or years, coming from outside the country, then that's where it says that she is the goddess of. And so then their love making, I suppose, I guess, then he could be considered from upstream, wherever that is. Then when those two mate, then here comes the flood. And then Anuket would be the daughter, the fertile virgin soil and tide that comes and renews the ground. That's all there is on that. So this thing that was brought to me about division, okay, and I can attribute it to two different modes of thinking automatically. One is Masonic, and the fact that you don't know what you're getting into, and then you knock 3 times or whatever, you get in. But then once you pass the 3rd degree, well, everyone was equal at the 3rd degree, so why'd you go further? Oh, now you're locked inside the building. You got brought in blindsided. But you agreed to this, or did your higher self? Was it the shadow? But if you're the shadow, then you're in the dark, or you're the light. Oh, but then once you see the light and you're trapped inside the burning building, how are you going to get out? And are you all in the dark and you stick out like a sore thumb? Good question, huh? These breaks in reality. Then on the other end, I see the Rosicrucian Order, and on the spiritual aspect, And what a lot of spiritualists do, like they start out and they cleanse the energy, right? And before you do start a meditation, like the Libra 777 meditation, then you're supposed to say something. May the sublime essence of the cosmic infuse me or renew me. May the sublime essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, so I may reach the celestial sanctum in all purity and perfect dignity, so mote it be. And before that, you're supposed to wash your hands and drink a full glass of water. So there's divisions of cleanliness coming in, where Masonic, you come in all blind and deaf and dumb, and then you're supposed to get smarter once you get in, but how can you get smarter? You shouldn't have showed up here in the first place. Abandon all hope, you who enter, kind of thing. And then to go into your prayer, okay, now you cleanse your energy, but the whole weird thing is, and the cleansing, but then tied to tarot, for instance, so it's about this card that comes later in this reading, Flow, 11. And one thing that has been one of my struggles and something that I've had to trust in this process, that I do it differently, I guess. But what's differently, right? I guess that's the explanation, the drawn out of why we're here in this moment. So if you have an intention and you want it to come out in the cards, then why are you cleaning the energy and changing it? Especially if if whatever you put out is your manifestation and calling that thing to you, while at the same time that's what you're supposed to be working on. And if you're working on it, well, at the same time nobody else has to. But if they caught wind of it and we're here having this reading together, then it is up to everyone who watched, and everything bleeds out. And so, prosperity is shared, is a shared thing, and not one of us could fix everyone, no matter how hard we try. So we're given the planet of Pluto in this resurrection and rebirth kind of card, in death and like winter, but then the trees don't die in the winter, they just look like they die, and then they come back stronger than ever. And whatever was too weak, the snow will break it off, whatever, and at the same time fertilize the ground and put all this extra moisture in for the springtime, so everything can grow fast all at once. It stops so it can go. And so the difficulties about this division concept is the need for control of what? And if you got control of it, or if you can imagine it and you can already have it and it manifests right away, then where can you go from there? So where does control really stem from, and where could it go? Tied to obsession, because, well, isn't that the mind of itself, and there's always got to be an obsession and a power struggle. What over? Well, we were given, once again, two house cards, the fourth and the eighth house. We had the fourth house in the last reading. And so the things to be focused on here are a need for control of finding what makes us feel secure. And sometimes letting go can help us make us feel secure. And sometimes holding on can make us feel secure. At the same time as those two concepts very quickly can turn into insecurity and a need to seek order or emptiness or cleanliness. But then what are we manifesting? And what are we manifesting from? If there's supposed to be a trail of blood getting us there in the first place. And then, and that trail of blood really has everything to do with how hard we've been working on it one way or another, and where we're going somehow, and helping all those that come across the trail along the way. An obsession with support. I think each of us seeks that along with our security, and then tied again to the family and the home base. How each of us have to hold it, for better or worse, thick and thin, and that it's always a life or death issue. That's pretty intense, huh? If every last thing, like, oh, if I smoke this cigarette, oh my God, I just destroyed our entire life. Or if I take a hit off this pipe, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my entire family. And it's easy for us to be too hard on each other when, no matter, when it comes down to it, that it comes back down to this father-son kind of bond of, or mother, like, no matter what you ever do, even if it by chance is to unalive someone, or I hate that term. I can't. I don't know if it's worth it to say it. To say the K word, but whatever. This stuff's so funny. Or whatever. No matter what, I'll still love you, and I'll still visit you in prison, and you'll still have a place to stay at when you get out of prison, and I'll support you in all your dreams. Let's just hope you don't get obsessed with the thing that hurt you. But if you do, well, then we'll work through it together. And I think that's like true, powerful love of family values. And maybe I was wrong about the whole thing. Maybe that was the best thing that could ever happen, So we can't hold, all things are a life and death issue. At the same time as if there's a tomorrow, then it can just run off our back. It's not that big a deal, unless we make too big a deal out of it. And so then these fears and a need for control and obsession with the power struggle is also with getting and using the power. And how do we use it for good, especially if intention and the will to do it and setting goals or whatever are the exact things that get in our way. Because if you have a timeline and a project and you set everything on that, sure, then everything can make sure that thing gets done. But in the meantime, whenever you're not working on that thing, usually nothing else gets done, or there's no other projects being started. And the odds are that the project you set up will be done around the same time as you set the goal. Which is good and it's bad, because then, well, what's next? And we're taught like, yeah, well, you gotta plan and build things out one thing at a time. At the same time, it's just the random things that come in and derail the whole thing. That always ends up making it turn out even better somehow later. So success can be very empty in that sense. And the last thing on the house cards is about focusing on other people's resources and how we can use other people's resources as our own, and they can use ours, but somehow there has to be an exchange of not just gratitude and, hey, good job, attaboy, but somehow there has to be actual resources exchanged. If one person's providing like an inverse of the dad concept as the son, and providing everything for the family, but he's not allowed to go to work or get disability or whatever, then how can he add the value to everyone? And if they can go wherever they want and then just come back and be like, well, here, I'll pay all the bills, Dad. Okay. But what does Dad need? And how can he ask for that if you provided everything up front in order so that everyone had a home and had the stability to be in the inverted position where he's struggling to know why he gets up each day because everyone's already taking care of themselves. And this sign is in Capricorn. Tied back to the goat, or the ram that was had to do with Khnum, however you pronounce that. The father in this story of Aniket, And so the focus here would be focusing on support and getting the reciprocation of power and resources and fixing the life and death of it so that it can be more like a steady running a program where you need some money, here's the money. I need some resources, here's your resources. And we can build forward without necessarily having a goal in mind so that it can come together naturally and organically. And we're asked to call upon the dedication to achieve this, which is difficult when you don't know what you're achieving. And in the physical realm, has to do with this power struggle over, and you may be dealing with this as well, resulting from rules that were imposed by others or imposed by our own self as the way that we think that things work, because, well, that's what my parents said, or that's what my prior experience tells me. But the first card was hope. And they say that hope is at the bottom of Pandora's box, which means you wouldn't find it until it's the last thing that's left. But if you got hope, then what do you got left? What are you hoping for? You already been through it all. And you already know what you're going to get back. At the same time as you hope for something else, something new, like to go into the unknown. If Ra was there. And when you've lost all hope, then what could pick you up if you've already been through it all, and how are you going to get back? The rune in this reading is Oruz, spelled Uruz. Looks like tip of a scalpel. And throughout the divisions and whether it was cleansing or getting locked inside or locked out, we should always be guided with desire, symbolized by the wild ox. And both harnessing and allowing them to flow freely our inner feelings. There's next 3 cards I haven't flipped over yet, so it'll be a surprise to each of us. As purity, shrouds have no pockets. Which, right away, I'm drawn to the concept of my other channel and how there's all these playlists. Each one's a pocket, and each one has a pocket of its own. And it's almost like you go to a watch salesman and he just opens up. He's like, what all you need? Oh, on this side, I got jewelry and I got weapons and whatever. What do you need? But then here, well, on this channel, we're just coming forth as is. I mean, that's already said and done with. And building upon itself as the ultimate tower of towers for each to not have to fall so far. And if they do, they always have somewhere they can come to where their higher self can guide them. If the higher self guided me to do all that from all these different states of mind and frequency, and whatever's changed or not changed, nobody can really dictate how it goes, especially for anyone else. And so I think that that's a really important channel and aspect that has taken a load, as a sense, off of the actual me and my journey, while having a place that I can go as a personal library. But I almost never go back. And when I do, and I see one, I just want to be like, yeah, this one's shiny, this one's cool. What does it have to do with anything necessary right now? Or the fact that I've already seen it and heard it. So why would I go back and do it again if we're trying to move forward? Or it creates a cycle where it brings me back around where I'm stuck on an old story once again. but sometimes that adds to the future, especially if others are with me in spirit watching those as I'm watching them, so that we can get over those humps together if I have to lead, but from the back end and outside of time and here as a being, but I can't go anywhere at the same time as I can run my mouth all day or do whatever I want to do, more or less, as long as it doesn't cost any money. I mean, I could leave the house and go anywhere I want in this town, you know? I could walk into somebody's house that I don't belong in. Not that that's going to go well. They'd probably shoot me, but, you know, I can't. And so then it's tied to this weird concept of purity, that shrouds have no pockets. I mean, purity is in self. And so that's the weird thing. So, like, if one is to say, oh, well, that person's on drugs, and you could see that, so that person is technically living in purity, but you're trying to hold it in a pocket. But their ass, their face is hanging straight out. So what are you trying to steal? What are you trying to hold over their head or against them? You're the one that's trying to hold pockets for something else in one way of seeing it. Free from contamination, innocence, and originality, untainted by outer influence. And that ties together and complicates what isn't that clear or that simple. Because who's closer to God? Who is more right? One person is all embodied and imbued, but then being pushed by an inner force. And the other person is inside out and looking and picking out what they're picking and choosing what they want to discriminate everybody as. And thinking that they're better or that means something, when if everyone sees a reflection of themselves, be like, that motherfucker's fucked up. Oh, wait. Am I talking to myself? Oh, shit. I'm fucked up. I should go talk to that person. They're probably smarter than I am right now. And that's the weird thing about it, how everything's a mirror. And that's tied to Scorpio. I guess this is a star seed reading, as each has to find their direction and their way, but each of us is a seed and a star, and what is that seed if it's not tied to desire and the desire for purity? But in order to know purity, one has to become impure. But then the most pure things of substances can be considered dirty, at the same time as it could make it so that you don't have to eat, drink, or even smoke a cigarette or do anything for 2 days before you even think about it. So that's pretty fucking pure, don't you think? But then somebody who isn't taking anything is going to be eating and drinking and snacking and coffee and a little bit of water and a little bit of this and that all day long. So then how can anybody that's sober technically call themselves pure at the same time? It says, what lights you up? And that's interesting if it could be something that's considered dirty or impure, at the same time as who could judge another, when I just explained how that's not as straightforward as anybody could think. Interestingly, with the star scene, what lights you up, we're given, I want to look this up real quick here. We're given the Ace of Cups, but it's inverted. It's one of the most positive cards in the deck, but it's inverted at the same time as all's not as it seems. It's a symbol of emotional new beginnings. See, she's holding this like hologram of what appears to be an apple or a heart, or maybe it's a bow. In any sense, it's also a red sphere which is tied to the root chakra, which is where your butt's at the first chakra. But then the heart is at the fourth. But then this expansiveness comes out also through the voice, through the eyes, and our emanations of like an emotion, and also through our thoughts. The heart being really the fourth one's where it all starts, and all of the lower chakras kind of symbolize the negative aspects, but they're positive. Where one is you can sit on your butt all day, and it's a place of stability. At the same time as all of the waste goes out there to maintain cleanliness, but that's the dirty spot, that's always hidden. And then the stomach, well, then you have the second chakra is the sex organs. But then that's dirty and clean, and mostly it's all in. But then when it flushes out, then you got a period, or, then you have an act of copulation, and then what comes out of it, you have all this emotional and physical and this weird connection and drama. And it can go either way. And the same with the stomach, of how the stomach actually holds, in the lining, holds all of the brain chemicals like serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine. They're all stored in the stomach lining, because if they were stored in the head, then it's kind of like having a pipe right there. Your brain could just be like, I'm addicted to myself. I'm not going to stop until it's all gone. And so it's stored in the stomach, and that's also why, so that it can slowly be let into the bloodstream, and it takes a minute to get there so the body can moderate itself, however that magic works. And the weird thing about how, whenever you're full of food, good food, and the body's using that energy, you're packed with power, but then it makes you sleepy. But then as your body starts using up all the resources, and you're flushed out and you haven't eaten for a day or two, whether by choice or by chemical, then all of a sudden you become really active and really conscious and really all there and ready, and just energy. When you're empty, when you're full, now you're like a cow sitting in the field, got all that meat just standing there. It doesn't do nothing. Just munches on the grass or eats with its eyes off the television screen. And it's all potential energy, but in order for it to become usable, it has to start eating itself. Oh yeah, so let's do it. And so that's why I think this Ace of Cups inversion really has to do with what I just explained there. But let me see if there's anything else I want to add. Yeah, and so in reverse, it shows this double balance about how it can be the chakra or the heart, love, whatever, can be blocked, but it's a two-way block. Like having everything you need makes you lazy, but not having anything makes you energetic, but to do what? And so either direction in extremes creates a sense of feeling emotionally withdrawn, numb, or unable to connect with feelings, and a suppression of sadness or fear, the two ends of addiction. It can lead to a creative block, emotional drain, feeling self-worth, and unrequited love and loss. But that's tied to comfort. Isn't that interesting? And so the number cards to close out this reading, we get our 20 and 11 to be more focused upon flow and seeing. When the small goes, great comes. But that's where concept, because things that are great tend to stay. And things that are too small, like a penny on the ground, that tends to stay. But if it was $100 bill, it'd blow away. Or somebody picked that shit up right away. The same with the great. If it leaves its throne, and the further away it gets from its throne, then the weaker it gets. So how to maintain flow and hold down the position at the same time, knowing there is no such thing necessarily as greater or less, but how to balance these aspects within ourselves and others. And then tied back to what I was saying about energy cleansing and trying to balance purity, which is such a hard concept. This is washing hands and not making the offering. There's truth and confidence, like a presence. Revealing kind of by acting strong and trying to be it. In a sense, that's not being it. And that's giving it away. And then as soon as you're not like that, then that's the weird thing about acting. But to be self-aware is to be what you need to be in the moment you need to be it. Like an animal doesn't just go around acting all tough or whatever, even though it might appear to be tough because of what kind of animal it is. It's really like a baby most of the time. But then even if you sneak up on a rabbit or a cat or whatever and you corner one, and all of a sudden you got a 100-pound fucking beast on your hands, and you probably, even though you're 10 times their size, you might get fucked up thinking you could pick that cat up. Because I've never seen anything in my life faster than a feral cat. And I don't know how they don't kill themselves every time they just snap, because there's nothing like it on earth of a small cat when it's feral. Like lightning speed, and somehow there's God's in there, and God doesn't care. Like if it hits its neck and it breaks its neck, but you're probably gonna get hurt either way. And so unless it's just easiest not to leave it alone. But even like this, the idea of, oh, the bull's mad. Yeah, but you can get out of the way of the bull probably if you know how to move right, because it's so big. So I'd like to close out this reading about hope and division and balance to, I guess it's time to eat. Have a good one.